So we're recording as well now. So I'm just going to go through the first two parts of the marking scheme really quickly, but because today is about the literary travel writing, I'm going to focus more on that. So I'll rush through the first two and then spend a lot more time on the third one. So this overall marking scheme now for THE 4002 is on the DLE. There is a link through to it. So you can go and look at this in a bit more detail later. The three components, component 0, the dialogues, component A, the essay, the report style essay, and part B, the literary travel writing, are the three pieces that go in your portfolio. Your portfolio is going to be a Word document, and on the day or just before the day, I think it's the 11th of January, upload it. Give yourself plenty of time to upload it in case there are any issues or problems. So don't leave it till the last hour to do it. If you don't upload it, you'll score nothing. There's no mark. There is a little bit of leeway where you can score 40% if you get it loaded up. I think it's in 2 minutes. So don't leave it till the last minute. If you haven't done the work and you've got extenuating circumstances because of illness or some other realistic reason, then put in an extenuating circumstances claim form and let everyone know, let Jane know, and let the office know, the student office, that you're claiming extenuating circumstances. Now, the three components, the three pieces of writing that you do, the dialogues, the essay, and the literary travel writing, are weighted. This concept of weighting is to give a more or less importance to each part in order to arrive at 100% for the whole portfolio. So part 0, the dialogues, is weighted at 10%. It increases too because we're expecting you to be more engaged as the term goes on, the semester goes on. Part A, the essay, is weighted at 40%, and part B, the literary travel writing, is weighted at 50%. It means that when we calculate the marks, we have to use a weighting scheme and we multiply them by that. You know how to get percentages, don't you? To get 10%, you multiply the answer by 0.1. To get 40%, you multiply by 0.4. And to get half, 50%, you multiply by 0.5. But we still mark on a scale of 100 for each of them so that you can see the breakdown of your marks to see how well you did in each particular one. Whether a lot of people talk about getting a first, and that's getting 70% or more. And so they like to see if they've got a first. In fact, it's a good indication, good diagnostics to see if you got a first in any or all of them, or if you passed in any or all of them. And the pass mark is 40% in each of them. However, if you don't score 40% in one of them and the other two weightings bump it up and you break the 40% barrier, you've still passed the module overall. So they're not additive, they're alternative. I think that's the way you call the marking. So in the dialogue, it's got to be evidence of the effectiveness of your questioning, that you've done some close reading, that you've done some analysis, and at higher levels, to show that you've done some interpretation. And great, I'll have a look. Thanks, Tamsin. I'll have a look in a moment. That's brilliant. Thanks for managing to do that. We'll have a look at Tamsin's in about 5 minutes. And to get the higher levels is to do some hermeneutic or interpretive synthesis from the candidate's own thinking. So it's showing that you're going higher that, and that it's sometimes hermeneutics is called reading between the lines. So you bring into bear other knowledge of the respondent in order to make a bigger synthesis of ideas, of applying theory or academic reading. That's it's a single line and a single mark, and they're the 4 elements that Jane will be looking for in the dialogues. And by now, lots of people have done lots of dialogues. We've got lots of formative work there, and we've left it there for you under autumn 2021 to go and have a look at. If you're kind of feeling lost with that, then do dip in and have a look at other people's and look at the feedback that they've been gaining on that. The second one, the essay, essays marked using the tourism mark criterion grid of 30, 30, 30, 10. They look like this, the 30, 30, 30, 10. And all of our essays, right through tourism, right through the 3 or 4 years that you're with us, use this same principle for doing this type of essay, argument and analytical work. It's up to 30% to get content, up to 30% extra to show that you've been into the journals on Primo and Google Scholar, and that you've done the referencing properly. And finally, the other big 30 is to show that you've integrated the journal reading into the content of your essay. So if you've been writing about New York, is that you've made some theory connect with that. So rather than the two standing separate, this third component down here is to bring the two together. That's the most difficult bit, but it will push you. If you were to score highest in them, 60, this last 30 will push you over and get you up into the firsts. It doesn't always work where you just add the whole lot up. People score, say, like 22 there, 17 here, and 15. Finally, presentation, grammar and spelling. We expect you to spell in, if you look down at the bottom of my screen there, we expect you to switch your word processor to English United Kingdom in brackets. Make sure you're not in English United States, because we want you to spell the words, and because you're in a British university, so spell them using UK English. So colour and centre and honour and harbour, all spelt in English, in British English. Now the third one, this is the one I want to spend a lot of time on, and we'll apply this to Tamsin's in a moment. We're going to look for 5 heads up, so quick things, 5 indicators to show that you're doing literary travel writing, so some movement really soon. First sentence, definitely first 2 sentences, sorry, by the second sentence. So first or second sentence, that something's moved. You have, or the wind has, or the bus or the lorry has, or the river has flowed. So something, a verb with some movement in it. Secondly, some kind of date and time stamp. You could either do this really formally as though you were writing a diary or a journal, or a bit more cleverly is to weave it in and work it into the way that you're writing. I was looking at someone's, can't remember now, but you could say there was still 20 days to go before 20 shopping days to Christmas. So from that we can gauge it's about the 4th or 5th of December. And a timestamp, because it's important whether it's daytime or nighttime, and so you could do that by saying it's 9:50 a.m. or breakfast seemed a long way away, even though it wasn't lunchtime. So you could do it cleverly or with a real stamp of time. A locatable place, and with this one, I do want you to use Google Maps or whichever map is on your phone, and look at as you're writing or when you've written a little bit, is to go back and look on the map, say Google Maps, and say, could it be located? Ask yourself, do I need to do more to make this locatable? And I always use as my example is Moon Street at the side of Jury's Inn there, walking down to Plymouth Harbour. And if you get to the very corner of Moon Street, down where there's a pub that sells cider, it's painted green. And so I can use that, and I've used that in travel writing, and Jane's used it in her guided walk, is to get people to know exactly where it is. The idea to have in mind about the travel writing piece is that someone is going to follow in your footsteps. A visitor or a tourist in a year's time will pick up your travel piece and want to walk with it and find these same spots. 4th point, the I narrator. So absolutely the opposite of the essay, where you don't exist in the essay at all. The I narrator is where you put I or me or us or we. Us and we used to be called first person plural, and I is first person singular. So if you go on your own or with a friend, you can use I or we. And do put the person in there, you in there, because we're trying to build up the emotion around that I, what she feels or he feels. And finally, past tenses. So watch out for them. Present tenses do creep back in, particularly if you're keeping your journal, if you've got your notebook that you're keeping out there in the field and writing in it. I find I tend to write in present tense, and sometimes you come back to write the travel writing and you forget and you stay in present tense. Do push it back into the past. That'll take you up to mid to high 50s if you've got all those. And then to get the higher marks, to go to 58% and above, is a hexis route with the 5 plateaus, in port of entry and your 5 plateaus. The feuilleton in 3 leaves, can't say that in English, feuilleton, the leaves with a teaser or a trailer between leaf 1, 2, and then at the end of leaf 2, as you run into leaf 3. Some ethnobotany, and you'll get that from my journal article that describes ethnobotany and the ethnobotany checklist. Some affective language, and affective language is adjectives, horrific, fantastic, great, adverbs, slowly, painstakingly, those words that end in ly. Deixis, I looked to my left, I looked over there, down below me, that's deixis. And any other imagistic writing, either metaphor or simile. I was walking as slow as a snail is simile, isn't it? That's a type of imagistic writing. And often you use those for expressing emotion. At the highest level, so to get above 70, an extended conceit that connects the plateaus or huddles. So say you wanted to connect plateau 3 and plateau 5, something that links the two of them, so that when you're sitting in, say, the cafe at plateau number 5, you think back to something that happened to you at plateau number 3. And that's called it's actually called a dialogue between the 2 plateaus. And it's also, if you keep it going, it becomes an extended conceit. A lot of people in a travel writing piece as an extended conceit, they go looking for something, desperately seeking gin. That's probably not a very good example. I suppose it's a Christmassy example. And so that's always going on in the story. It always returns to that. And a good story might never find it, or it finds it, or it finds some other answer at the end. Lots of travel writing goes in search of something, but actually finds the true character of the writer. The other one is use of another author associated with this place or activity. And anyone who's read mine now will see that I used someone who grew up in Newquay, and she wrote she wrote an autobiography about her life as a little girl growing up there. And at 2 or 3 places throughout the story, I make reference to her. And in fact, I go and try and find a place where her mum and her family went to pick nettles. And so having another author in there associated with the place gives you a quest, gives you something to go and write about and find out about. When we finally mark it, we'll give the full percentage mark in these top boxes, do the division sum by 0.1, and then give you the final mark. 5, is that 5, not 0.1, 5.5, I think. I can't do it in my head. I need the calculator. And then you'll end up with your final mark down there. Because it's got weightings in it, the final mark may run to a decimal. So it might be 62.5 or 58.5. So don't worry that it's got a decimal in it. And then that mark will go on to count towards your degree. The first year marks now do count towards your degree. So I'll just stop share with that. Paul